the land of Israel is in the center of the world. That's the meaning of Mediterranean. That Jerusalem is at the center of the land of Israel, and that the temple, which is the location to which Jews, Christians, and at a certain time also Muslims turned in prayer, is an expression of the centrality of Jerusalem, which is often compared to a heart. Just as the heart is at the physical center of, and sentimental center of the human structure, and indeed gives life to all the rest of the organs, so Jerusalem is at the heart of the universe, and from Jerusalem there are vibrations that spread to the whole of the world. Yerushalayim habnuya ke'ir shechubra la yachdav. Jerusalem is built as a city of harmony and unity. I think that's a beautiful expression of the centrality of Jerusalem and its importance for humanity. Sha'alu shalom Yerushalayim. Seek the peace of Jerusalem. Yishlayu ohavayich. May those that love thee, Jerusalem, be at peace. Be tranquil. Yi shalom b'chelech. May there be peace amongst thy hosts. Shalva ba'armonotayich. And tranquility in your palaces. Leman ahai v're'ai. For the sake of my brothers and friends, i.e. my fellow human beings. Adabra na shalom bach. I will speak of peace for your sake. Lema'an beit Hashem Eloheinu. For the sake of the house of God, our Lord. Avaksha tov lach. I will seek goodness for thee, O Jerusalem.
So a prayer for Jerusalem, to some extent, symbolize the prayer for the peace for the whole world. The most important part of prayer is listening, receptiveness. So I think the best prayer for peace in Jerusalem will be with the prayer which is very important, I think, for all Abrahamic religion. Shema, listen.
Om Madhu, Om Madhu, Om Madhu. May sweetness and bliss, peace and harmony overflow in the entire universe, in the mountains, in the oceans, over the herbs and plants, over human and subhuman beings, over the entire creation. Om, peace, peace, peace.
The commonality of the prayer is that it connects the humanity to the divinity. The prayer connects us with our surroundings, with our environment, with our nature, and with our fellow animals. Let there be peace on the earth. Let there be peace not only in the space but also in the outer space. Let there be peace with water. Let there be peace with the other elements of nature. Let there be peace with herbs and vegetations. But above all, one peace is we require, is the foremost, and that is Shantireva Shantihi. Let there be peace in the process of peace itself. Peace is the way, there is no way to peace. When I look around, what I look in every being is the divine presence. So I bow down to every person, every animal, every manifestation of nature as the manifestation and presence of the divine. And then I bow down to them as my divine goal, my divine source. the prayer for Jerusalem is also a prayer for peace and understanding among religions which are not just from the family of Abraham, but we live now in a global village where the Abrahamic family is neighbor to the Eastern religions, to the native religions, and n number of religions throughout the globe. When we pray for Jerusalem, we are actually praying for ourselves. Because we, living in India, living in the East, living in the West, we are living with our Muslim brothers, with our Jewish brothers, with our Christian brothers. And these brothers have contributed so meaningfully, and they complete our being in this world meaningfully. So if we pray for Jerusalem, the heartland of the Abrahamic spirituality, what we are praying for peace globally, because these people drawing their source in Jerusalem are living throughout the world. And when these people are happy, these people are at peace, then the world is at peace. The different religions are happier for our brothers in Jerusalem. If the brothers in the Abrahamic family can be at genuine peace through a just relationship, then it will have a ripple effect. From the heart of my heart, I pray for my brothers and sisters, for the children and my parents living in Jerusalem.
For the Jewish people, it is the place of Mount Zion. It's the place of King David. It's the place of great suffering and great hope. For the Muslim people, it is the place of the night journey of the Holy Prophet, the launching off to his experience in the heavens. For Christians, it's the place of the death and resurrection of Jesus and where Jesus taught. For each of us, it is a rooted physical place with which our faith today is dependent one way or another. It cannot be ignored. It desperately needs to be reconciled, to be unified. The need we have for much deeper reconciliation one with another is possibly the most important item on the world's agenda for peace. We will never get peace in the world unless Islam, Christianity and Judaism are at one, in mutual respect, in mutual affirmation. Not identical, but one in the mutual acceptance that it is the one God we worship. And it's only when we produce Jerusalem as the sign of that reconciliation that the rest, around the rest of the world, will come together. It can't happen anywhere else. There is no other iconic place of such importance. And it's when the leadership on the one hand, the membership on the other, can really come together to say, this is our priority, that things will start to happen. We have a long, long way to go. But it's a journey each of us has to make. Otherwise, we will be asked why we didn't. And if we say, oh, well, no one else was leading, well, why didn't you lead, the Lord will say. And that is the inspiration to keep us focused on the hope that is the hill of Jerusalem, Mount Zion, is the buildings of Jerusalem, whether it's the Holy Sepulchre, the Temple, the Wailing Wall. And it is the one God behind it all, and in front of it all, and the fulfillment of it all. So we have to play our part to achieve that. Yes, Lord, that is our prayer from the bottom of our hearts, with all the energy we can muster. Now, at this moment. Yes, Lord. Peace in Jerusalem. Unity in Jerusalem. Love in Jerusalem. The symbol of your presence in our world in Jerusalem. Help us to achieve that, Lord. Without you, impossible. With you, we have hope. Amen. We have this project, the Center for Hope. I have not heard of anyone conceive of a more relevant, a more important initiative than this. Jerusalem cannot be the center of hopelessness. It hasn't got a center for hope to counteract the hopelessness that exists in many people's lives. It needs that center of hope where people can feel enlarged as they enter, where the people once inside can be inspired that it is God who is our hope. And they can then receive that gift of hope to build this new community in Jerusalem, for which this center is just the seed. It's got to flower into a big plant, embracing all the peoples of that land, Christian, Jewish, Muslim, but also reaching out to other people of faith from around the world.
Of course, Jerusalem holds a very central place in the world, and for all, at least for the Abrahamic religions, there is a well-established foundation. Therefore, whatever happens to Jerusalem reflects, in a way, it reflects the state of the world, and it reflects the epicenter. It is the epicenter from where the change can take place. And so far, I think we have remained passive to this reality, in the sense that if Jerusalem is the stage upon which the entire humanity, the drama of the entire humanity is being staged, then we have been just watching this drama passively. Jerusalem is Al-Quds in Arabic, and Al-Quds meaning the Holy Land, the holy place, and holy by itself, by definition, means to be whole, and therefore our prayer for Jerusalem is really a prayer for global peace, because if this is the center of conflict, and if this center of conflict changes into center of reconciliation and peace, then the entire world is going to change into peaceful communities, living with a common idea of hope and well-being of humanity.
I think Jerusalem is the only place all over the world that has so much meanings in all levels, the concrete level, the imaginary level, and the symbolic level. There's no place like this all over the world. And really fulfill the mission of כי ביתי בית תפילה יקרא לכל העמים, or the idea of כי אז יהפוך אל עמים שפה ברורה, the idea that all nations will share each nation and each religion will keep her own features, but still will be able to include the other. Jerusalem is the mystical and the spiritual bride. Jerusalem is the exiled part of the divinity. Jerusalem also represents the feminine aspect in the world that is so hidden and is not powerful in this world. So for me, the healing of Jerusalem is the healing of this part, and it's like trying to say something new and a new direction for understanding of the spirituality today. This is the first fragment, and it describes the way that each creature and each man and each animal or each everything, each tree, I don't know, for me, it's like the singing of all creatures from all over the universe, and they are singing that and praising and sanctify the divinity. Shabbat is in Jewish mysticism, we identify it with Jerusalem, with exiled Jerusalem. So it's also a prayer for the healing of Jerusalem. I think that this is a great opportunity to the leaders of the world and people who have the money and the ability to influence and to create and recreate things, to share their power and to devote it to such an important mission, like bringing peace, understanding and harmony. And it's like a great opportunity to make tikkun, to repair something. And the idea to try to repair things from the symbolic level and then to bring it to concretize it. It's a great idea, and I hope that everybody, I think that it will give a lot of grace to those who will decide to help. I'm sure that they will be blessed in all their ways, in all their many ways of life, because it must be like this.
You are here as an individual, you have your own structure, you are not to melt here and to become something else. No. When you come here as you are, you should go from this center stronger as you are, not being afraid that you lose yourself. That's, if we can achieve that, and Jerusalem is the place to do it. Because why God made this Jerusalem so important from Abraham until the Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him. The Prophet Muhammad could go to journey to another place. I don't know why he didn't go to Jerusalem.
We're also trying to figure it out.
But he went, and this is the fact. Now, what can I do in Bosnia now? I cannot change that, okay? But my Bosnians cannot go to Jerusalem on their way to Hajj as they used to do, because that was the journey when you go from Europe. By the way, the world is changing. You know, I was in the airplane, and I heard people speak Arabic, so we think in Europe whoever speaks Arabic is a Muslim immediately. But then I talked to these people, and then it happened that they are Christians from Lebanon. So we were going to Beirut. So I asked them, they were in the pilgrimage of Medjugorje, which is in Bosnia, okay? And Mary appeared there, but the Vatican doesn't recognize it.
Wait a moment. Decided yet.
Yes, but you see, they are making us very nervous about it. Why don't they recognize?
You're making too much money out of it, is that?
Yeah, yes. Franciscans. So I said to them, this is very interesting. We from Europe used to go to the east because all the religions came from the east, right? Now you are coming to the pilgrim to the west. This is the sign of the last day, This is because when the east becomes the west and the west becomes the east and the sun rises from the west instead of the east, that is the sign of the doomsday. So that's very interesting. I just want to encourage you, to tell you, in order to break something and to change the world, you have to be a little bit crazy.
Mm-hmm. That's what my mother says.
I don't mean you, but all of
She does.
us.
She
All of us. So I think the crazy idea about peace in Jerusalem is really crazy. And when you take this show, is irrational. But we have to be irrational in order to make the change. And this is what we are here. Instead of talking about the holy war, we should speak about the holy peace. For me, this center in Jerusalem would have a meaning if we change the narrative from the art of war to the art of peace, from the just war to the just peace, and from the holy war to the holy peace. And Jerusalem should be the center for these three meanings and the changing of the narrative. Because in the beginning it was a war.
I would just like to add that thanks for pointing out this narrative challenge. The center, which is in a locale which is very Abrahamic, and the community is Abrahamic, and so on and so forth. So taking it beyond the Abrahamic family and Abrahamic discourse.
To the Abrahamic now.
Yeah. Abrahamic. Non-Brahmanic, okay? What I want to just read from your brochure is my viewpoint, and I echo this a lot. This is from His Holiness Dalai Lama, a Buddhist, and we need a Buddhist voice in this room too. And I read him, he says, I have been to Jerusalem as a pilgrim and absorbed the intensity of the spiritual life and prayer of the believers of different faiths. This is what I echo, that as a non-Abrahamic faith tradition, what this center will mean for me. It will mean a lot as a pilgrim to Jerusalem, where I will find myself and rediscover myself. That will be a very important value. And then it says, I firmly believe there is room even for those of us who do not share the tenets of the Abrahamic faiths to join in the spiritual life of that holy city. And this center will be that wonder, will be that great wonder of great spiritual value. By joining our prayers for peace and well-being of our peoples and creatures to those prayers already offered in this great spiritual center. The vision of the center of hope could make this a reality. So I think in this way I feel that the faith traditions which do not have active communities in Jerusalem today, but in the times to come, the Hindus, the Buddhists, and other non-Abrahamic faith people, they are also travelers. And then they can find a new wonder coming up, which is so sincere and honest and meaningful. And in that interfaith context, which is a global reality today, if they find this center in Jerusalem, despite a non-existent community, Hindu community there, it can become a meaningful Hindu center as well.
As Christians, as Orthodox people, we look to the center of the world for us, which is Jerusalem. And if there is to be peace on the face of the world, I think there has to be peace in Jerusalem. It is the city in which the Abrahamic faiths abide and dwell. We have our spiritual homes there. And I don't think in our home and in our lives we want disruption and we want violence and we want war. We want peace to abide in Jerusalem and that peace to flow from there throughout the world. It's quite critical for there to be peace in Jerusalem, because when we go there, we go to worship, we go to sacred places. Sacred places are not to be covered with blood of human beings. They're to be covered and sheltered in God's grace and the love which is to abide. There needs to be peace so that people can go there freely. And we must have peace in Jerusalem and throughout the world, and of course, and in our hearts. When the day comes when there will be peace in Jerusalem, I think the heavens will open. And not only will God's grace pour out in its fullness upon us, but also the sun of righteousness and truth will come to enlighten the world. I think when there's peace in Jerusalem, there's going to be peace throughout the world. Usually when we talk about the religions of the world, we talk about our differences. But there is one place, and that's the Center for Hope, where we all come together.
You see, we are living in a world with a lot of conflicts, with a lot of tensions, and perhaps the most difficult task of every human being is to live in tolerance and to deal with the otherness of the other. And Jerusalem is just the symbol where all these differences find the harmony and the relationship to each other. And so I'm really enthusiastic about this project of a dialogue center and of a hope and peace center in Jerusalem, because of the tradition of the three Abrahamic religions already there, and I hope that the history of salvation that came out of Jerusalem, of this city and the country around, calls us to bring these peace and this redemption back into the city through our contribution in this process of peace building. Of course, the whole history we experience in Jerusalem and in the Holy Land, it's like a mirror of the history all over the world.
In trying to solve the mystery of nature, we begin to realize that we ourselves, forming part of nature, form a part of the mystery that we are trying to solve. So the human mind is confounded, flabbergasted, overwhelmed about the complexity of the natural universe on the one hand, and the utter simplicity of the laws which govern it. And therefore, at the higher realms of physics or chemistry or fundamental sciences, scientists have bowed their heads and hearts in reverence towards something which they are seeking, which they know not what. The universal law which flows from this basic urge in a human being is that the entire universe as we see is interconnected. That's why it's called universe. Universe is one undivided, indivisible, connected whole. In this whole, all of us remain as small segments or parts, and we are connected to this whole. That the entire universe is one connected whole. Even materially, we are one. Humorously, the example is given. If I lift my little finger, I affect a star somewhere in the universe. All of us belonging to this entire family we call humankind, and all the species, subhuman, animate and inanimate in the entire world, all of us connected as one whole. Rejoice and be exceeding glad. And there is a famous Vedic prayer which dates to several thousand years ago, which says that the entire nature should be blissful and joyful and happy. Let the winds bring us sweetness and joy. Let the oceans be full of joy and sweetness. The rivers flow with joy and sweetness. Let the herbs and the plants be happy. The trees and all the various vegetation be happy. Let the cows, which give us milk and nutrition, be joyful. Let sweetness flow from the heavens, from the sky, from the interstellar space, and every particle of this earth be full of sweetness and joy. And from joy comes peace. A person who is joyless cannot have peace. A person without peace cannot have joy. Jerusalem is the heart of the universe, that the Holy Scriptures say. And unfortunately, this holy city has been ridden with so much of conflict and tension. We, as responsible human beings populating this earth, owe it to ourselves to bring peace and joy to this. It's a matter of great gratification and satisfaction that an attempt is being made by the infinite grace of the divine and by support of all well-meaning, thinking people who want the world to survive in joy and peace, to create a center here called the Center for a House of Prayer and Education, HOPE. The acronym HOPE is highly significant. Let's hope from this center will flow waves of harmony and peace. This center will be the center of harmony, center of peace, center of joy, when various religious groups with thousands of traditions at their back and millions of followers for scores of centuries will rejoice with their brethren who are walking the same path of God, though calling Him by different names, following different practices, having different mythologies, having various rituals, having diverse philosophies, but at the same time breathing the one universal gospel of love, gospel of equality, gospel of peace, gospel of universal well-being, and gospel of harmony and joy. May this center grow as a center of universal harmony and peace and be a model for world peace and harmony, is my very earnest prayer to the infinite and supreme divine spirit. Thank you. Namaskar, namaste, thank you. I bow down to everybody in the name of God.
Jerusalem stands for something beyond its historical boundaries, its historical concrete manifestation, but it stands for the heavenly city. And so it is that which all beings are called to gather together to celebrate the glories of the divine. And so in that regard, there cannot be any conflict in the real Jerusalem. And the fact that we humans are messing it up by our human conflicts in it, in the name of our respective religions, is really a very, very painful fact. And if we were to imagine God looking at all of us from God's perspective, it's God's own pain, right at the heart of God's own being. So to heal the conflict in Jerusalem is the healing of the pain of all of us as a human family. As the saying goes, the pain of my little finger is felt by my whole body. And this is a very painful part of our global body right now, which we cannot but address as a global family. May all beings be happy. May all beings be at ease. May all beings be happy. For the healing of Jerusalem, for the healing of all sentient beings. The Center of Hope is an endeavor of people from different religious traditions precisely to realize some kind of hope in a state of conflict, some kind of hope for peace, some kind of hope for reconciliation, some kind of hope for healing. And the hope it offers is through prayer, house of prayer and education. So that hope is not just the hope that the word means, but it also stands for precisely how prayer can unite all humankind together. So the Center of Hope will embody that kind of aspiration of all humankind. So it is my sincere wish and aspiration and prayer that it become a reality.
As we are told in the Quran, that in the creation of the heavens and the earth and the night and the exchange of night and day and all this what we see in the universe, these are the signs of God's presence, existence, and that also we understand that He is not tired keeping the universe intact. That Jerusalem deserves not the holy war, but the holy peace. And I wish that the Abrahamic traditions will come to the common reason and understand that the only way that we can feel better, all of us, is to make Jerusalem the holy peace instead of the holy war, and that in Jerusalem everyone should be free to come and to feel accepted, to be in the grace of God, who is one for all of us, who created us, and I would say who is not pleased to see that the bloodshed is bloodshed about this holy place of Jerusalem. I wish to live a moment when Jerusalem will be free. When I say free, I mean free from the conflicts and free to everyone who believes that by visiting Jerusalem he is in the state of God's grace. Of course, Masjid al-Aqsa is for Muslims a very important place, and the place where Muslims all around the world used to go on their way to Hajj, to Mecca. So I hope that Jerusalem one day will be the house of peace. I hope that the center of hope will be the place for devotion, remembering God, for reflection of God, and for hard work for the peace in Jerusalem and in the Holy Land.
Today it seems to be very much more a time of conflict and division and strife. And so I believe that people of faith coming together in friendship can be instruments to bring peace within other communities also. Because if there are two individuals from different communities who share a friendship together, they can spark peace within their community. And I think that that's more essential today than ever before.
The Hope Center in Jerusalem is a daring project and a necessary one. But there is another way of looking at Jerusalem, city of peace, which is anchored in the hearts of humans all over the world. Jews, Christian, Muslims, and so many other traditions of the East. And to dare to build in the midst of turmoil and deception a place of hope is a God-given task.